The future of decentralization. In this video, we will discuss the current state of decentralization, its advantages and disadvantages, and the possible futures. We'll look at what's changing in decentralization systems and how they affect our daily lives. Whether this is a good thing or a bad thing will depend on how you look at it. And in the meantime, it's important to consider the pros and cons of decentralization. Benefits. Many people argue that decentralization reduces the power of centralized state, bringing more checks and balances into government, and improving economic efficiency. In Latin America, decentralization is a necessary part of democratization, the process. Other benefits of decentralization include empowerment, greater efficiency, and better resource allocation. This video will discuss the benefits of decentralization in that region and consider the benefits of individual constituents. For one, decentralization networks are more resilient to outages. A centralized component can be attacked and brought down at the same time. With a decentralized network, however, there's no single point of failure to affect the entire network. This makes them less vulnerable to attacks and hackers. Also, decentralization emphasizes security and encryption, making their move more effective. It's easier for individuals to start their own companies, and the internet is a complex ecosystem, and one outage can cripple it for millions of users. With a decentralization setup, the burden of managing each individual department divided into multiple individuals, encouraging more innovative thinking. Moreover, decentralization reduces bureaucracy by giving the top management personnel more time to focus on fresh ideas. And decentralization fosters a team spirit by enabling employees to share responsibility and improve understanding. However, it's important to note that decentralization is not without its drawbacks. The systematic review of the literature on the topic shows some shortcomings of existing studies. While vigorous quantitative research is considered a gold standard in impact evaluation, it's also impossible to conduct an RCT for decentralization reforms because these innovative informs significant institutive and regulatory changes. As such, random assignment for people and groups is difficult. A systematic review of decentralization in the developing world is needed for a better understanding of the long-term effects of decentralization on public health. The results of these studies are mixed and suggest the benefits of decentralization will depend on the context of which the implementation is started. If these results of the studies show promising results, they cannot generalize other countries. Furthermore, the studies do not indicate whether decentralization will benefit health systems. Further research is needed to determine whether or not it actually benefits people. This is a vital question that needs to be addressed. Disadvantages. Some organizations are able to make better decisions with a decentralization style structure, but it's important for employees not to become overwhelmed with the number of tasks they need to do. Centralization places more authority into the hands of lower management people and eliminates the need of upper level management to deal with issues. However, some organizations may experience many drawbacks. A number of these include the lack of competent managers. Another drawback is that the decentralization structure enterprises can result in administrative expenses. Because the centralization units attempt to be self-sufficient, there are often duplicated fluctuations of lack of management resources. Moreover, centralization can lead to problems with coordination and inter-unit cooperation. A decentralized structure can create a situation in which employees do not feel comfortable sharing information with one another. The decentralized approach is not suited for highly specialized services. Another drawback is that decentralization can cause national disunity or even integrated work together. This can lead to uneven development and distributed of resources and inefficient government. The government can also employ people with a lack of necessary experience and education to effectively manage the affairs of the country. This situation can make a state develop into dictatorship potentially, but if decentralization is used properly, it can be better and more efficient government. Decentralization is a form of management that involves delegation of authority to subordinate. This method promotes higher employee motivation because of the decisions made closer to them. This approach makes employees feel more connected to the company's overall direction. Moreover, they are knowledgeable of issues affecting areas of responsibility. The more capable of making decisions, the more relevant to their work. Therefore, decentralization can help a company improve its productivity. Current states of decentralization. Centralization is a process by which centralized power is transferred to lower levels of government. Centralization occurs at lower territorial scales within structures such as maybe countries or cities or municipalities. This trend is also accompanied by potential-level government structures. Why decentralization is still in infancy has potential to transform our societies and the way we live in them. So these are some reasons why this may be important. Legacy business are currently involving neutralization, disruption, decentralization, and then innovation. One prominent example is the smartphone industry. This technology has made it possible for consumers to transact around the world at any hour. These technologies have created new markets with lesser-known companies emerging as leaders. The legacy companies also are actively acquired decentralized companies with highly competitive technologies. These developments are likely to continue to drive a shift in business models and consumer behavior. Political decentralization refers to the movement to transfer power from a centralized government to local government. This process, known as delegation, involves the transfer of decision-making responsibility from national government to semi-autonomy organizations. These organizations have limited autonomy, but still accountable to central government. Governments typically delegate these functions while creating public enterprises, transport stations, authorities, and special service districts, schools, other types of districts, and other entities. They may also control non-government organizations such as nonprofits or community groups. Decentralized networks support open development. By facilitating an open development environment, the networks can attract innovative products, services, and tools to meet the needs of local users. In contrast, closed solutions or centralized networks do not offer kinds of freedom. This also increases with the decentralization as it requires constructions of communication systems that support development of decentralization functions. But the benefits of decentralization outweigh the cost. The challenges of decentralizations in Ghana are largely to different types of specific rules. So when you look at different types of countries and how they implement their rules on local government, it really comes out to how each region wants to make use of their types of rules and their types of ways to organize a set of centralization and decentralization. So when you look at a different country, maybe in the Africa continent, it may look different from what we're going to see here in the United States continent, which is definitely a normal way to approach how we look at decentralization. Possible futures of a decentralization seem like a good thing. It's not necessarily an answer for every company's needs, but a few people working on the same problem can lead to millions of different solutions, paths forward, and other beneficial outcomes. But too many people create a mess and prevent any success, which can be an issue as well. So there are many possible futures for decentralization, so it's best to see how we will make them work by going over the advantages and disadvantages. For example, let's look at the Bitcoin protocol, which is one of the most famous examples of decentralization, as it stores records of distributed information on the ledger with no central authority. While the hype surrounding the blockchain has scared many business lenders, it also is understood to be a broader evolution of distributed technology. The rise of decentralization, applications, cloud computing, and open source practices with all manifested decentralization structure. Ultimately, decentralization will provide an ultimate development environment. It will eliminate the need for centralized intermediaries to verify transactions. While it's not to eliminate the need for IT departments, the centralized offer a route to technology-enabled businesses transformation on business scales. Businesses should be prepared for the shift. The benefits of decentralization are vast and well worth exploring. Whether the implementation of decentralization today is part of the future now, it will be part of the future eventually. It's going to be a viral thing to consider. Consider all the possible options of decentralization, how it can benefit your business. As the Web3 ledger emerges as a viable alternative, a decentralized Web3 ledger will ultimately be available to all its users to maintain user privacy while enabling people to verify authenticity of transactions and with data being equally valued. Web3's decentralization ledger will be enabled so that they'll be able to profit from any kind of central authority. If successful, Web3 could become the decentralization solution to a massive problem affecting the environment. So I hope this video has been helpful. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We will be back with more videos later.